Hey, did anybody hear about the swindle case? After promoting a pawn to queen, black got checkmated.
Take a good look at the position. Black is about to promote a pawn, with the pawn sitting on the 7th rank. King to a6 to avoid the check, and after queen promotes, black has to answer rook h8 check. The bishop on g3 covers that diagonal, h2 to b8, and after queen interposes, then rook captures the queen on b8, checkmate. The pin of the pawn on g2 to the king. Knight to f3 is forced. Pawn cannot capture, and after king steps over to the h file, checkmate. The positional sacrifice. Are you willing to give up material?
Oh boy, it's time for experimentation.
Don't be afraid to experiment. Taking your game out of its comfort zone of being too mechanical can train your athleticism. Players are usually happy to give up material in order to regain it with interest a few moves later. So what happens if black captures the queen on d1? The concept of sacrificing is quite common in chess. Here in this position, white wins in all variations. The disposition of pieces. In chess, a person can end up in a worse position, all because of misplaced pieces. So from this position, white has a number of threats. Black has two ways to recapture on e6, the pawn or the bishop. Let's take a look at bishop captures knight on e6. If bishop captures knight, then rook to d8 is check. Black has only one move to interpose with the bishop, bishop f8, and bishop now recaptures on e6. Black is in Zugzwang. If pawn captures bishop, then rook on f1 captures bishop check. And if king to g7, then rook captures on f7 check. And now the bishop is lost.
Cut. Lights. Camera. Action.
Weak squares. You should always make it a habit to identify weak squares in order to use them to your advantage. Now let's look at another continuation. After knight captures the pawn on d6, queen takes d6, knight takes e6, and even if black plays queen takes knight on e6, then queen to d8 check. Queen takes e6, and now queen d8 check, bishop f8. Now watch this stunning move by white. Do you see it?
Oh sure, rook captures on f7.
Rook takes f7. Either way, the queen is lost. Should black play king takes rook on f7, then queen takes bishop on c8. This exploits the pin of the queen to the king. The bishop on c4, and after queen captures, then queen recaptures on c4 with check. check. Prophylaxis. These are moves that are made to guard against your opponent's potential attacks. Prophylaxis falls under the category of defense. In this position, the rook beams down and X-rays black's king on c8. And seeing this, black moves the king to the b7 square to step off the file, to step off the c file. Now white threatens to capture one of the pieces, either the bishop on c5 or the knight on c6. However, black has a trick up his sleeve. Jettison the pawn, queen captures bishop on c5. The in-between move is pawn to d2 check, forking the king and the rook. And after the king steps down to f2, the move
Queen captures rook on c1.
And now black just simply forms a battery on the d file.
Let's go to the pawn shop.
And now let's look at hanging pawns. Hanging pawns, when two pawns stand on adjacent files with no other pawns to support them. White has hanging pawns on f5 and g5. So white plays the pawn to g6. The idea is to loosen the position around black's king. Black makes a desperate move to get at white's king. However, after pawn to b4, king to b3, and now pawn to a5, pawn to f6 by white, and after pawn to a4 by black, king captures pawn on a4. Rook over to a8 check is a meaningless check. It does nothing. King to b3, the pawn on f7 is still double attacked. And after queen f6, then pawn on g6 captures pawn on f7 check. So here the lesson is white used the hanging pawns to try and weaken black's king side and succeeded. And this cannot be avoided. Checkmate cannot be avoided. Queen captures queen on f8. Checkmate.
Hey Richie, I'm having trouble finding the file. Which files do I look for?
The files that are open.
Always look for open files and diagonals.
In this game, you're going to see the black's queen on f8 utilize the f8 to c5 diagonal. The queen will go to c5. Bishop captures, bringing the king out. And now after queen to c5 check, notice the pawn on f4. That will also support the queen after the queen moves to e3. So king to e1 and queen to e3 check. King moves over to d1, with that being the only safe move. And black has an overwhelming advantage. This is followed by bishop to d3, attacking the queen on c2.
Now I will conclude this video with a small miniature that shows how black walks into a mating net. Thank you for watching. That is all I have for now. Stay tuned for my next video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. My videos are designed for strong chess players wanting to become assassins.